friends and neighbors. Welcome in the light, where laughter's the answer and hearts are shining bright. With calloused hands and wits, so raise your sharp. Let's praise a place where love ignites the spark.
Hello, friends and neighbors, and welcome to Sunnyside. Well, here it is, the week of October 27th, the final week of the month of October in 2025. Can you believe it? It's already coming to an end, and November is just right around the corner. Halloween, happy Halloween to you, is, of course, on Friday, the end of the week here. And I hope you have a great Halloween, whatever that is for you. I see people decorating their homes and their yards with all of these very involved decorations, whether it's spider webs, which I don't like spider webs, and I really don't like any of the Halloween decorations. I'll be honest with you. I find Halloween kind of, I don't know, gross. Everybody loves candy, so I appreciate the candy, and I do like a good costume party. That's kind of fun. And who doesn't like trick or treating and have good memories of that from when you were a kid? So I'm not poo-pooing the entire idea of All Saints Day or Hallowed Eve or any of that stuff, but I will say it's kind of creepy, and sometimes it feels a little satanic, and if not that, then maybe a little slutty. How can you find adult costumes that aren't just a little questionable? So it is Halloween, and I hope you have a great Halloween, whatever it happens to be that you're doing, and everybody's safe, and the kids are out having a good time, and we're coming to an end of the month of October. And that also means that we will be finishing up our purchase of our new property that we've got to add to the Sunnyside Farm property, and I'm just so excited about it because we have the opportunity now to expand our cattle operation to truly become a cattle baron. You must have more land. And so we did purchase some more land. It's got some nice ponds on it, and we look forward to developing it. And I am excited about developing it in a beautiful and practical manner. Because as you know, if you've been listening to this show for a while, you know that that's kind of my motto. So I look forward to the buildings that we will put on this property and what they will look like and how they will be, harken back to some of our American heritage, but also serve the practical purpose of, providing shelter and safe space for breeding operation and calving and that type of thing as we develop our farm program here for you. Hopefully you'll become a customer, and down the road you'll buy that Sunnyside beef, and we'll get everything rolling here as we begin this enterprise together. Which reminds me, I have some projects that are coming up starting in November. So just right around the corner next week, we'll start sometime in November, very soon. So coming up quickly. Look forward to adding video finally to our podcast format. So you'll have the opportunity. I don't know why you would want to watch me on YouTube, particularly like today when it's just me talking. But if that's your thing, if that's your favorite TV show, you watch a lot of YouTube, and that's how you get your content and your information instead of, listening. I guess you're not mowing the lawn if you're in the Midwest, much more for the winter. So we're going to start doing video now after 3 or 4 years of being audio format only. Some things will remain audio format only because I do appreciate the art form of the theater of the mind, but and video and skit making on video can be fun, but it's also a whole lot more involved because there's sets and costumes and stuff like that. So it'll be a while before Sunnyside Farms Studios gets into the full-on skit making on video that you can watch. But I look forward to someday doing that. In the meantime, though, starting in November, our guests will be visually available on our YouTube channel, which anybody can follow, and we encourage you to do that right now. It's been up for a couple of years. Sunnyside Farms Studios is the channel on YouTube. That's Sunnyside Farms Studios. And on that, you'll see videos that I've posted in the past, as well as we do have video version of what's going on with some of the other podcasts. So the Waldorf Gridiron Club podcast, for example, has been doing video now for the last month or two, and that's been very well received. People like to watch their kids that we're talking to, their football player kids, and I guess they enjoy to some degree seeing Andy Buffington and me in the studio as we have a conversation with them. So based on that, and now that I know, just like everything else, I used the Waldorf Gridiron Club podcast 4 years ago to figure out how to do a podcast correctly before I started Sunnyside of Life. I just wanted to, it was a very unique audience. It's basically Waldorf football and fans of Waldorf football. And so that's a very small audience, and I wanted to be able to test it. I wouldn't say perfect it, but get to the point where kind of knew what we were doing. Same thing with the video piece of that. Been doing that now for a couple of months as we interview every week a different player or coach from the Waldorf Warrior football team from Waldorf University on the Waldorf Gridiron Club podcast. So I used that as my test scenario, and now I feel comfortable that I can do the same thing with the Sunnyside of Life. And I'm looking forward to it because we have some great guests lined up as we roll into our late fall, early winter season portion of the season. And so something new. And it'll take a while, from what I understand, the way the algorithms work, because there's so much audio content on that channel, because there's actually three podcasts: the Sunnyside of Life, the Waldorf Gridiron Club podcast, and also Mr. B's Dinner Party, which, if you haven't listened to that, that's a great show. I produced that for Scott Bertelson, and he reviews TV shows and movies, and he talks about his pet peeves, and he talks about being an educator for 40 years, and he talks about his food addiction and how he's dealing with that. And so it's very helpful for people that are interested in have addictions in that regard. So he's just a slightly different podcast than what we do here at the Sunnyside of Life and the Waldorf Gridiron Club. So three very different podcasts that come out of Sunnyside Farms Studios, and all of them are available on the Sunnyside Farms Studios channel on YouTube. So if you haven't checked that out, check it out, subscribe. You can have that on in the background for all of the audio stuff. But for video content, because there's so much audio content, it does take a little bit of time to kind of get that in your feed. And so the more people that obviously tune in, the more sharing that goes on, all of that stuff. I don't know how, I don't pretend to completely understand how computer science works, but I know that there's something called an algorithm in there. And so to get involved in seeing those things, you gotta look at them. And so if that's your thing, we'll have it for you starting in November. And then coming up in January, some things I want to make you aware of. I'm excited because if you remember last year, we here at I guess myself and that was it. Just me. I read the entire Bible and recorded it in Bible in Year format. And so from start to finish, Genesis 1 all the way to the end of Revelation, for the entire year, you have the ability to listen to sometimes it was 10 minutes, sometimes it was 20 minutes. I think the longest one was like 27 minutes, but for the most part, they're usually in that 14, 15 minute range. So it's like a great 14 or 15 minutes to start your day or anytime during your day. And in January, once again, we will be putting that out there as the Bible in a Year in its own channel format, its own podcast. So the Sunnyside of Life Bible in a Year Experience podcast will be its own thing starting in January. So it will be ready to go, and it will be available for you to start the new year, and a great way for you to be able to listen to the Word of God as written in the Bible and read fairly accurately by me. I'm not going to pretend like I've said every name and place correctly at all. There are mistakes, but I read what was in front of me. I may not have pronounced it always correctly, but it's there. And because I have all that content readily available, it will become its own podcast on January 1st. So you'll be able to subscribe and listen and make that a part of your life and share that with your friends and family so that they can tune in and listen to the Word of God every day. What I had done last year is I had, of course, added it to my just this program, the Sunnyside of Life. And so for every day, there was a Sunnyside of Life Bible experience that came out, and there was also once a week the Sunnyside of Life show, which I'm doing right now. That will become its own podcast because it becomes difficult to navigate. So if you want to listen to the Bible in a year, every year, or encourage friends or family or whomever to listen to the Bible in a year in that capacity, it gets hard when it's mixed together. It's difficult to separate. Maybe you don't want to listen to my opinions or my guests or whatever, and you just want to hear the Word of God. And if that's what you're into, and I hope you are, then you'll be able to do that. So we're going to separate it out. We're going to put it on its own pod and make it its own podcast. And of course, there's a little bit of expense to all of that to get those things going, graphics and monthly fees and storage and data and all that. But I'm happy to do that for the listeners who want to have that Bible in a year experience. And so I feel like that's the best way to do it. So we're going to add a fourth podcast to the Sunnyside of Life Farms Studios and the Sunnyside of Life program. And I realize it'll be duplicative on YouTube because those, from last year, they will still be there. And so yeah, it is what it is. But that way you can find it and follow it every day and subscribe to two different things that will help you be able to accomplish that. I hope you're going to subscribe to two different things if you're listening to this show already. All right, that's what's all coming up. And then in January also, one last thing I got to tell you, I'm just going to give you a little preview, not a preview. I'm just going to let you know that in January, I will be singing the songs of Johnny Cash. And so really working hard and looking forward to making that a great show. It'll be at the Bowman Fine Arts Center, and it'll be on the 17th of January. So the Bowman Fine Arts Center seats 630 people, and we're hoping for a sellout crowd. It'll be on the 17th of January at the Bowman Fine Arts Center in Forest City, Iowa. And this is part of the Vinyl Fest series. You've heard me talk about the 50s show, and I did the 60s show. The last show I did was the 70s show. They're doing the 80s show. I'm not in that one, as trying to get ready for the Johnny Cash show, which is on the 17th of January. So I encourage you to check out the Bowman Fine Arts Center website for tickets. They're not yet available for the Johnny Cash show, and man, it's going to be a great show, and I hope it's a great show. Not tooting my own horn. I'm not Johnny Cash, but I am going to do my absolute best. I've been singing Johnny Cash songs pretty much my whole life. And so I hope it'll be a great experience. It'll be a live experience, and it'll be at the Bowman Fine Arts Center on the 17th of January. So you get to hear me try to portray the man in black and sing his songs. And we'll also have songs by our June Carter Cash and hopefully some Highwaymen songs in there as well, which will be fun and a little surprise. So we'll see what happens, but I can tell you that is going to occur on the 17th of January. So mark your calendars. There's not much going on in January, so come on up and see me singing the songs of Johnny Cash at the Bowman Fine Arts Center in Forest City, Iowa. All right, so that's all happening. Now, let's talk about something that I don't know if it affects you or not. I guess it might affect me. We'll find out here at the end of the week. The government shutdown. I don't know if I get paid with my pension at the end of the month or not. And I don't know. I mean, I'm not living paycheck to paycheck, so it's not the end of the world if I don't. I assume that I'll get my pay eventually. We'll find out. I guess it'll be a neat little surprise to see. But we're going on this full month now of being shut down by the federal government. And I don't know, does it make any difference to you? Have you noticed anything different? I don't know. It used to be, I don't know, when it happened before, they were shutting down parks and all of these other things. And now it seems like it appears that both sides say that it's the other side's fault. Okay, so we can't believe either side. The Republicans have the slim majority, but they don't have a super majority. They need that in order to get cloture to pass this continuing resolution. So they do need Democrat help, and Democrats know that, so they got a little bit of leverage, and they want to do a bunch of stuff with health care, and they're trying to make it seem like they're just the nice guys that want to take care of people's health care. Come on, man. It's you guys are evil and all that stuff. And the Republicans are like, I don't know if we care if the government open or not. And as a fiscal conservative, I don't know if I care either. I guess I'll find out at the end of the week. Do I care? Am I going to get paid? I don't know. We'll find out. However, it is, in my opinion, the perfect time as to figuring out how to make maybe the government work just a little bit more efficiently. So we've got all of these people that are in the federal government that are not working. What if they what if there was a way to make government more efficient? And this is an opportunity for us to learn. In the same way, to some degree, that we learned lessons from COVID shutdowns and things like that. Obviously, COVID was a terrible situation, and it affected a lot of people. Everybody was somehow affected by COVID, and the government handled it perfectly. They did not handle it perfectly. So we know that the government is full of morons, and they don't handle things perfectly because they're human beings just like you and me, and they make mistakes, and they made a lot of mistakes there. But we did learn some good things about COVID. We found out some different business practices. We found out how we can do some things online, and how we can be maybe perhaps in some ways more efficient. Where those in-person things do not affect us. And this to me seems like a perfect time to experiment with artificial intelligence. And according to the Cato Institute, because I subscribe to Free Society, which is the Cato Institute's magazine. Yes, are you impressed? I subscribe to the Cato Institute and donate money to the Cato Institute. I follow Cato. And I receive quarterly editions of the Free Society, which I do like. I think we all like a little Free Society now and then. And so there's an article in the most recent Free Society magazine, and it's all about breaking bureaucracy with artificial intelligence, written by Matthew Middlestat. And I just wanted to kind of highlight those things because I follow things on a local level as a school board member, and then local politics, which is where really everything does happen that affects your life, my life. It all happens on the local level, whether it's the city council. And those elections are all coming up next week as well. So get out and vote. If you're not registered, whatever you need, go take care of that and make sure that you vote next Tuesday, because there are school board elections, there are city council elections, there are some state elections. There's just stuff going on. And skipping elections isn't something that you should do. You don't have very many jobs as a citizen of the United States of America. And yes, you do need to be a citizen to vote in America. As far as I know, I think that's, maybe people want to change that. but you do have to be a citizen. And as a citizen, and you're listening to this, get off your dead butt, make sure you vote. And I don't really necessarily even care I care who you vote for, but I'm not going to tell you who to vote for. You got to do it. That's your job. You have a very simple job, man. It's a republic, so you get the opportunity to express your opinion and vote. So go do it, and that's next Tuesday. And so maybe we'll have. We'll see how things in the next week change, because some of those, as they approach this, this November election, maybe some of these things will probably break this week, and they'll get everything all settled with the federal government, and maybe I will get paid my pension at the end of the week here. We'll see. But this article by Matthew Middlestat isn't necessarily tied to the election here in just over a week. It is more about just using artificial intelligence to make government run more efficiently. And he's applying it at the federal level, which is kind of where the Cato Institute spends most of its time focusing their interests and I suppose their lobbying efforts. But I think it can be applied at the state level and at the county level, and city level, et cetera, even the school board. So there are interesting uses for artificial intelligence. And before you start sending me texts about how AI is the devil and all of that, it certainly can be like any other type of tool that we have as human beings. Human beings are flawed, and when we use our tools in a flawed way, then we end up getting, bad results. Garbage in, garbage out. But this is meant to be used in a responsible way. And truly as a useful tool to help us get through the regulation. If you know anything about the Cato Institute, you know that they are not fans of government regulation and red tape and over-regulation, which in and of itself is kind of an ambiguous term. What is your version of over-regulation versus my version of over-regulation? But the reality is that government red tape is causing and has caused many, many problems. Cato obviously is also very interested, like most libertarians, really at the core of it are truly interested in a free society so we can conduct commerce in the way that we so choose without government obstruction. So there are many examples that Middlestat uses in this article from the Free Society, published, that's the fall 2025 version of this. And he says construction is strangled by environmental reviews that can take 6 years to clear. 6 years, that seems like a long time to get an environmental review completed. Talent pipelines, where you hire people, whether they're on the local economy or from an international pool of potential candidates, they are throttled on the international level by visa processing that's so slow. It's so slow. And I know that, a lot of conservatives don't care particularly about immigration, but legal immigration is still ridiculously slow. Like, that's part of the problem. There are now 11.3 million applications for these talent pipelines they're just stuck in limbo. 11.3 million applications. Now, not all of them will get approved, but a lot of them will. And that helps us advance our economy in many, many ways. International trade is gummed up by the largest export license backlog in history. Export licenses, you need permission from the government, Republican or Democrat, to sell your wares out of the United States of America. You need a license for that. So I'm not a fan of most licensing, to be honest with you. And I got a solution for that. Just get rid of the export licensing. But there is a backlog. So if we keep it, by the way, all of these things, when we talk about regulations, they're all laws made by human beings in Congress who are very intelligent, highly moral, and ethical people who are just trying to do the absolute best for the American people at all stages of their career. And, or not. Maybe it's opposite day. I don't know. But we still have to follow the law. The problem is that it is an enormous amount of data in our federal code, not to mention our state code or even some of our city codes. But AI, artificial intelligence, is a great tool to be able to sort through the data that is already in place. And that is what the argument is being made by this Matthew Middlestat from the Cato Institute in the article called Breaking Bureaucracy with Artificial Intelligence. And I happen to agree with it. AI is both real and it is remarkable. Its speed, the speed is the key, and its ability to work at what Middlestat calls a daunting scope, a massive scale, is well matched to the size of our institutional reform challenges, right? So if you or I were to sit down and try to sort through all of the rules and regulations at any level of government, it would take forever. And maybe that's how the people that work in government like it. They like it to be complicated and slow, because you got to get that 40-hour work week in there. You know what I'm saying? Okay. Well, AI is much faster than human beings. It works 24/7. You don't pay anything to them. There's no. You do have to pay for the storage fees. It takes a lot of processing. There's energy involved and that type of thing. But as far as all of the other costs of mitigating and rules and regulations on the human side, far cheaper. According to QuantGov says federal regulations contain over 1 million restrictions. There's over 1 million restrictions in our FedReg. And it's so densely written that reading the federal code, according to QuantGov, would take 3.5 years. It'd take 3.5 years to read over 1 million restrictions. And at that scale, Middlestat says comprehensive reform becomes nearly impossible. And maybe that's how they like it, but I don't like it that way. Do you like it that way? Do you like that we have all of these rules and regulations that just do nothing but slow us down? Because I don't. And it takes 3.5 years to read all of those, all of those million restrictions. And that's probably for a fast reader. I would say I'm a middle of the road reader. I read at a medium pace and have excellent retention of what I've read. Other people read very quickly and maybe they have excellent retention, but typically the retention goes down as the speed goes up. So I'm not a speed reader. So I don't even know if it's 3.5 years for me, or if it's 4.5 years for me, or I don't know. But it's a long time to read through these million restrictions. But AI can just plow through all of it. And what's cool about AI, if you've ever used it, is that it can be told to map the connections. It can spot redundancies. And here's something that I really love. It can actually flag requirements that need revision, or, my favorite word, removal. Wouldn't that be great? So they could do that. AI, it could do that through these million restrictions, through our federal code that would take everybody else. It would take us 3.5 years just to sort through it. And then at that point, do you even know what your little Post-it notes have been? And it continues to change. So obviously, huge advantage to AI being able to get through that, particularly flagging these things for revision or removal. I love that. It's not that it hasn't been done before, and got to give, this might be the only time that you hear this, but you got to give some credit to the city of San Francisco. Yeah, I said it. San Francisco partnered with Stanford's Regulation, Evaluation, and Governance Lab. It's called Reg Lab. And they partnered to build this AI tool that would go through nearly 16 million words. There's 16 million words in the San Francisco City Municipal Code. I don't know why. And my guess is that those are full-time, council people, and it's their full-time job. So as we know, with lawmakers, since that's part of their name, they must make laws. That's just what they feel they have to do. They don't know any different. But AI could comb through that, and it did for the city of San Francisco. And the result was, of the 528 mandated reports that surfaced from this experiment with the city of San Francisco and Stanford's Reg Lab, 140 of those 528 mandated reports were targeted for elimination. Clap your hands. Clap your hands. Eliminate them. Yes. What? 1/5 or more than 1/5, maybe close to a quarter, were targeted for elimination. And that was at a very large city, the city of San Francisco's level. And I'm sure they are overwrought with regulation, since they like to regulate out on that side of the country. But the code for the United States regulations, our federal code, is over 100 million words, which is 6 times larger than San Francisco's code. So can you imagine if you were able to go through and remove a quarter of those regulations across the board and find those redundancies in our federal government? Wouldn't that be amazing? Now, of course, it would still depend on human approval and also this thing called political will on either side of the aisle. But AI, according to Middlestat, the AI effort required could shrink dramatically all of these regulations that we have that are slowing everything down. I don't know what he was barking about there. Knox needs to be quiet. But anyway, AI would then open the door, which is what we want, to decisive action. So, and then we could unburden our commerce. I think, in my experience with leaders, particularly the self-defined leaders, if you provide them with information that makes it easy for them to make a decision as a leader, then they can go ahead and do it. They can just make a decision and feel like they've done a lot of work that day. And so if we can make it a little easier for those decisions to get made, maybe we can make those decisions and maybe we can make them a little quicker. So that's the first of 3 arguments for this AI use in our federal government. And I would say that it could be applied, again, to every level of government on down. So that was regulatory reform. There's also processing reform. And because the big problem is in government with regulations, when they make all these rules and the agencies are empowered to make rules from the legislature, they have to then implement these rules. So there's this burden, according to Middlestat, of rule implementation. And so you have to actually, you got these laws and you got these, restrictions, and rules. Now you actually have to put them into place. So with AI, there's an opportunity that allows us to ease the rote analysis, is what they call it, the rote analysis, which is common across the government approval process, whatever it is that it happens to be, whether it's, with the DMV or the Real ID or you name it. There's all of these rules that have to be put into place, and you can use AI to greatly enhance the rote analysis and get things done. Decisions can be made quicker. So, for example, the U.S. Patent Trademark Office is already exploring how you can use AI tools that can speed up its ability to basically break their backlogs for commerce essential things. Like they can take things and say, how does this regarding patents? How does this particular thing, see if there's anything else like it? And AI can do that wicked fast, and that's huge when you're trying to get things pushed through and done correctly. Whereas it might take, some, patent nerd, weeks, months, or years to determine whether or not, I don't know if there's anything else like this, because it's a patent. It's got to be unique. So the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office is already doing that. And maybe Middlestat says a more important improvement lies in documentation error handling, because simple mistakes are among the most common causes of bureaucratic delay. Confusing forms, they get misfiled, filled out incorrectly, or left incomplete. And such errors often push applications way to the back of the line, which, of course, then just compounds backlogs. So at the Department of Energy, for example, they're testing a new program that implements a grid permitting AI concierge. And that AI concierge will automatically flag paperwork omissions, mistakes, and even manage the back and forth communication that is required for resolution. And that's huge. Everybody says, well, not everybody, but when we talk about energy in the United States, whether you're, for using the solar only or the wind, or you're talking about building nuclear plants. I love nuclear plants. Build those nuclear plants. You know how long it takes to get all of those regulations and all of that handled? It takes forever. It takes too long. We all agree it takes too long, whatever it happens to be, for any type of permitting. And that costs businesses money, because they're dedicating so much time and resources of their employees to getting the government red tape handled in compliance. They could be using that money for, doing things like making energy for the rest of us. But no, we've slowed it down. Really put a governor, literally put a governor on the engine of our economy with our own government. So in Honolulu, there's another liberal city way out there in Hawaii. Visited it last year. Beautiful weather, of course. A lot of homeless people. Why? But if you're going to be homeless, why wouldn't you be homeless in Honolulu? I mean, they should make a TV show out of that. Maybe it'd be a good alliterative title. Homeless in Honolulu. First of all, how did they get there? But anyway, a similar system was implemented in Honolulu, and it was meant to streamline the city's permitting process, because they have a very restrictive permitting process in Blue Hawaii. And the result was, ta-da, they were able to complete their permitting times in a improvement by 70%. So permitting completion times dropped by a remarkable 70% by using an AI program. So basically, they can take the information that's already been established and put it into, and the AI has the ability to resource and commonalities and say, yep, this should get approved. This one doesn't. This is 600 like this have been approved, and this is an anomaly, so it needs to be reviewed by somebody else. That could be done in the military, by the way, for medical waivers. Our medical waiver system in the recruiting process across the board in the United States military is ridiculous. How they set that up. It takes so long for some dude in the Pentagon to make a decision about whether or not your two screws in your particular bone are going to make you able to be a soldier, sailor, airman, or Marine or not, when they have approved similar things in the past. Like, there's already a precedent for that. So being able to establish and recognize precedents, commonalities, we don't have to wait for, the new guy who comes in and doesn't know their job as a bureaucrat and is trying to catch up and drinking from the fire hose to find out that these things have already been done 1,000 times and you just didn't know it. And AI can do that. Like, you're not replacing the AI worker every so many years as they move, advance, choose a different career, go start a farm in the middle of nowhere and live off the land, whatever happens with human beings. AI can take those precedences, and they did it successfully in Honolulu, which is pretty good. So that's a huge part of it, the processing reform. And then maybe the most important one, my favorite might be the third one, which is paperwork reform, because the government is married to paper. The government loves paper. I mean, I like paper too. I like to hold the paper in your hand and all of that, but it is incredibly inefficient. So consider this: Americans, business people, businesses, corporations, Americans in general spend 10.5 billion with a B hours filling out 106 billion government forms every year. Of course we do. And that's according to the Chamber of Commerce, the National Chamber of Commerce, from a report back in 2022. So according to the General Services Administration, only 2% of federal forms have been digitized. Can you believe that? In this 21st century, I mean, we're a quarter of a century in to the 21st century, and we're still only at 2% of federal forms, where Larry has to take a handwritten document, trundle on down the hall, and hand it over to Susie, who then files it away and eventually gives it to Martha, etc., until, this is... I mean, it brings up memories of the movie A Hitchhiker's Guide, right? Where the bureaucrats are like their own alien species, and they're just huge, sluggish type people, or not even people. They're aliens or whatever. Check out the movie; you'll see what I mean. If you haven't seen it yet, I don't want to wreck it for you. Of course, it's Doug Adams, and it's amazing. He wrote the book. You can read the book too, but you get a visual in that movie. And that's how I imagine it. So when we have to do everything by paper, it's crazy. So, Middlestat says we're stuck in processes that are from the 1980s. Way to go, America. And I'm sure that they can do their best while they're holding their coffee in their hands, explaining why it's necessary to have these hard copies and this paper and blah, 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 blah. So, but AI, once again, could help. And I think this is pretty much a no-brainer. Like, consider, for example, Middlestat says Mistral, that's MISTRALOCR, that's a state-of-the-art document understanding system. And what it does is it can convert scanned paper forms into dynamic, which means they're usable, digital formats. And it can also digitize diagrams, formatting, and even graphs. And as we all know, people that have worked in government love those charts and graphs. Pretty pictures make us happy. And it also does it with a 95% accuracy currently. So it currently can do this with documents and be 95% accurate, which you can't even guarantee that with, the human beings, that it's going to be accurate. So here you have AI, which can take documents and recognize them, format them, digitize them, make them usable, do it wickedly fast, 24/7, 365 days a year, and have 95% accuracy. Currently, that accuracy only goes up, not down, with AI. Is my experience, right? So it's 95% accurate now. The more experience that a AI system gets, it becomes more accurate. So it quickly moves from 95 to 99, and maybe it's just almost always accurate. Which wouldn't that be? That would be amazing. So if you're in a heavily regulated sector, say like cybersecurity is what Middlestat uses as an example, surveys show that compliance, which I'd mentioned earlier, consumes 50% of engineers' hours in their business day. So you're a corporation, you're a company, you're a small business, whatever, and you're trying to in cybersecurity or any business that has a lot of too much government regulation, they're spending 50% of their time in cybersecurity at these companies, just making sure that what they engineer meets the compliance standards of some inane government rule or regulation. So imagine, Middlestat says, what our economy could actually produce if AI unlocked 50% more engineering time. That'd be amazing. Now, this whole concept of paperwork reform lives or dies by this prerequisite that federal documents must be in a form that AI can analyze and interact with. And so if we continue to have a government that insists on running on paper, then this obstacle clearing automation is impossible. And that's a big problem, isn't it? We want change. We say we want change. We say this is a way to do it, and we want to be efficient. And yet, at the same time, we don't want change. The people that we put in office, they say that, but they don't really know what they're talking about. A lot of them, not to be ageist here, but a lot of them are very old. They don't know much about computers in general. They certainly don't trust them. And so they don't understand how anything could work efficiently in that way and not be, evil. So you just have, there's a gap of understanding of how AI works and how it should be used. There is that then creates a lack of political will. And then we have a system of government that insists on inventing its own forms. You could get an award for that probably in your government bureaucracy office for coming up with a new form and give it a number, and now it has to be implemented. And it's completely redundant and unnecessary. But you made you created something. And look, in government, you don't get a chance to actually create much except for laws and rules and regulations. So if, since you're not out there building things or, making a real product or changing people's lives or, doing that type of thing, in a productive capacity, I suppose, these things do feel like you're actually making something, a macrame of government regulation. According to the American Action Forum, the federal paperwork burden costs between $276 billion with a B and $422 billion with a B every year. That's just how much the federal paperwork burden costs American companies, businesses of all sizes across this great nation, and probably to some degree, I suppose, companies that are based outside of the United States that also have to make these compliance, which is just nothing but wasted capital, wasted time, wasted opportunity, waste. And this is something that, when you have a government shutdown, you think, is there an AI system that could do this person's job? How small can we get this department by eliminating redundancies and streamlining approvals and regulation management and instruction and that type of thing? How then many buildings can the federal government sell back on the economy, put back on the tax rolls, if you like tax rolls, for private property, for buildings across the country and property across the country? What great reduction in benefits and continuing benefits and pay, wages, retirements, and all of these other things can we reduce because we're getting smart about how we manage our country and our county, our states, our cities, our schools. It's very interesting to me, and maybe it is to you. If it isn't, you've probably already left the program because we're about 45 minutes into the show. So what can you do? Anyway, the good news is, and this may surprise you because Donald Trump is about 80 years old, but the White House's AI action plan has already identified that this is a priority. That AI has to be adopted as a priority so that we can truly streamline regulations and agencies. And these agencies must be then allowed or empowered and encouraged even to experiment and apply and then scale these artificial intelligence tools so that those solutions, according to Middlestat, can move from pilot programs to a high impact reality. Now, I can imagine that federal employee unions are not going to be keen on this, although you would think it would make their jobs even easier. And maybe it would be, of course, the problem is that you would eventually see a pretty good reduction in employees on the federal level. And states should be leading the way with this. Iowa should be leading the way with this. I mean, we take credit for building like one of the first computers in the world at Iowa State. Why we should be, as a state in our government, leading the way, eliminating redundancies, finding out how to be, practical with our regulations, and reducing and eliminating waste of all sorts. And I think that many states are trying to do this. I don't see a ton of counties trying to do that. And you talk about, look, I find we're already moving to within the next year or two. I don't know what the deadline is, but it sounds like in the state of Iowa, for example, we're moving to an automated system for registrations of automobiles. So you can do your automotive registration annually online. What? How? What are these 99? How is that going to work in all of these county seats across the state? Like, what are they going to do? Well, I'm guessing that you can do the same thing across the board with many of the duplicative, redundant systems in county government. 99 counties, 99 sheriffs, 99 auditors, 99 treasurers, 99 recorders, you name it, on and on and on. And cities could learn quite a bit from this as well, too. And obviously, the small towns in my neck of the woods aren't dealing with 18 million words like, say, the city of San Francisco. But they've got enough, and there are probably redundancies. And it's probably a little bit easier. And if you've got somebody that has, been in the city clerk's office for 30 or 40 years, they probably do know how everything works and where everything's at. And maybe they are, and they're probably pretty good at their job. But they're also, going to retire at some point, and you know what I mean? Now you got to train somebody else, and they got to get it caught up to speed. And AI just continues to learn from itself in a continuum format. So in those ways, I concur with Matthew Middlestad, who is a technology policy research fellow at the Cato Institute, and he focuses on policy, cybersecurity, emerging technologies, and artificial intelligence and quantum computing, which I don't even know what that is, but it sounds like a TV show from the 80s. Anyway, I agree that we must use this artificial intelligence to break the bureaucracy. And there's no better time than perhaps right now when there's a government shutdown and people are not noticing until this weekend, perhaps. Maybe. We'll see at the end of the month if those things really do come into effect. Anyway, that is it for the show. I just wanted to share those things with you. Oh, there is one other thing. I don't want to end it. I did have a funny thought. I don't know if it's funny. Well, I think it's funny. But if you know my sense of humor, I don't really care too much if you think it's funny or not. My wife watches, a variety of YouTube channels, not mine. Maybe if I put myself on YouTube more, she will, because she does watch The Gridiron. Anyway, so she watches these YouTube channels that are really pretty well produced, and they're about sailing. So there's these couples that sail around the world. There's an Australian couple. They're raising a couple of their kids, and they've just been sailing around the globe for a few years. And there's another couple that has been doing this for a long time, and I don't know the names of. I think one of them is sailing the Vagabond, and I don't know all of the names of these different shows. But it's similar to the lots of YouTube shows that were on in the last 5-6 years of people that were living the van life, going out and touring around America and the world in their converted vans or their RV vans, and living and doing their work from whatever jobs they do, and they're just visiting places. And those are all very interesting. It's not my kind of lifestyle. Like I said, we kind of like our center of the universe, but she watches these two particular, one more than the other, the Australian couple that has their kids, and they just float around the world, and they're just out there living life and homeschooling if you're in a boat, whatever that's called, and just, sailing around the globe. And I guess it's very entertaining. I don't care for it. Like, I don't watch it, but she likes it. And so there's a lot of people that do like it, that they like it. They like it a lot. I'm not one of them, but I do know that she watches it. She was watching it the other day, and I was just thinking about, it occurred to me that, she's doing her makeup and she's watching the show on her iPad at the same time. And I was like, whew, man, President Trump is just blowing boats out of the water lately because they're narco-terrorists, as you well know. And no one disagrees that I'd like to see the drug cartels, clear and present danger, big yellow, pickup. You know what I'm talking about? The Tom Clancy novel that became a movie, and it had Harrison Ford as the main character. It was called Clear and Present Danger. It was based on the idea that the president can basically declare something a clear and present danger to the United States, and then that's what they did with the drug lords and the Colombian cartels. And then so even though they were living in another country that was, it's its own country in Colombia, we just decided to go wipe them out, and so we did. There are some questions about what you can do to another country without declaring war on them. You can't just go bomb another country, and so that's a problem. Which is why we're blowing up boats in the middle of the ocean. They're in international waters, and we've got big boats, big guns, and big drones, so we can blow them out of the water. We can obliterate them, smithereens, as Rand Paul said many times. And it doesn't break my heart if it's loaded with drugs. And it's loaded with drug dealers that are delivering drugs, and then it does not break my heart tremendously to see them sink. But once they've sunk, how do you know? How do you know that that's what it was? And then she was watching this show, and I was thinking, like, oh my gosh, like, what if they're, and this is not how YouTube works. Like, you have to edit and post the content later. So it's all done in a backlog way. It's not live. But like, what if this beautiful Australian couple just out there enjoying the international waters? This is a terrible Australian accent. And and then all of a sudden, I don't understand what that predator on UAV is. Is that a predator? And then boop, and that's the end. And all we would know is that they were drug dealers, because we have made it so. And narco-terrorists must be obliterated in the middle of the ocean. And that was my wicked thought, partly because I don't really like the show that much. I don't dislike it. I think they're fine people. I don't watch it like my wife does. And so that part of it was in the back of my head. And then I don't 100% like that we're just randomly out there blowing up speedboats in the ocean, because we're pretty sure those are drug dealers. We don't know for sure. We sunk it, so we can't back that up. But so that there's just a little bit of skepticism, and pardon me for being a skeptic and thinking also that that's kind of a wicked funny situation. It wouldn't be. It would be a tragedy, but it also hasn't happened yet, and I hope it doesn't. But it could. And we would, on our end, particularly from the White House press briefing room, it would just come down. Definitely, they were narco-terrorists. They were definitely narco-terrorists. That Australian family that had been raising their kids on a boat for the last few years. Yeah, people didn't know it, but they were moving at about 18 knots, and it was pretty fast for a sailboat. And why would they be doing that? And so we decided to blow them up. That hasn't happened, and I hope it doesn't, but it could. So with that in mind, let's hope that we don't have that happen, and I hope that you do have some sort of wicked sense of humor, and that you can kind of see, I think in skits, if you haven't noticed. So I see something, I go, that's a funny, what if this happened? And maybe that helps express an idea and communicate some thoughts, and hopefully be the sunny side. of someone else's life.
When the shadows fall and doubts begin to creep, remember together we're strong, never weak. Lift your neighbor up with kindness every day. Let your actions speak the words you want to say.
The Sunnyside of Life is a weekly production about our life on the family farmstead here in Iowa, the liberties we prize, and the pursuits which make us happy. None of this is possible, of course, without Christ in our lives. For the Lord God is our sun and our shield. He gives us grace and glory.
Be the sunny side of someone else's life. Share your light and joy through struggle and strife. Keep your heart open and your soul always bright. Together we will share this sunny side life. Be the sunny side of someone else's life. Share your light and joy through struggle and strife. Keep your heart open and your soul always bright. Together we will share this sunny side life.
May the Lord bless you and keep you, and may the sunny side of your life in Christ be made evident unto you each and every day, and give you peace.